Thank you so much, Amar. Thank you for inviting me and thank you for talking all these nice things. I only hope I can measure up to that. Well, these cases shown in this presentation are not necessarily done by me alone, because I had to collect some, cases for disaster. Now, when the air travels to areas where it has no business, now this is a very interesting case. Post-trauma, a patient develops an intumescent cataract with raised pressure and the chamber is extremely shallow. So he's taken up for surgery and the surgeon doesn't realize the status of a zonular structure because it's difficult to know it. So as a practice, he goes with air and the stain because obviously for a white cataract, you would stain. But at this stage, he realizes that the vitreous has started already coming out. So that means there is some gap and he's already injected air and the stain. So naturally you would expect, some difficult issues a little later. So now the first job is to go ahead and check if there's a vitreous, and if it's there, maybe clear it before you go ahead with your rhexis. So the surgeon carries on with his rhexis. And then, as expected, an endocapsular ring is placed so that you're on a safer ground. The phaco is not really difficult here, but he prefers to do vitrectomy because the vitreous is already there in the AC. Now you notice some air coming in. So that means there's some air behind. When he did capsular staining, some air must have gone in. So that means there's a direct contact. So there's also a possibility that when he's doing phaco, a lot of fluid might go behind. So the surgeon is on the guard. He goes ahead with the phaco. And at the end of nucleus management, his view is lost because one thing, there's no glow there, and he sees a lot of air bubbles which are there behind the capsule. And now it's difficult to actually check, if you can put the lens properly into the bag. But still, he somehow manages to implant the single piece. But now the action plan is you have to do something before you complete the case because even the cortex aspiration is not complete. And it's difficult to get this air out like this. So the second best thing that he does, so he decides to go use trocar cannula. The trocar cannula is a great tool, and every cataract surgeon must learn it. It's not very difficult to do it. In this case, first thing he does is to aspirate the air and does a little bit of anterior vitrectomy, clears up the stain, and suddenly the glow starts improving. It makes a huge difference. It's difficult to do phaco when you don't have a glow. And then the trocar is removed. And next, he goes in to get his lens into the bag, and then realizes that there is a lot of cortex there. But now, since it's visible and the glow is present, he manages to do IA and get the lens in the bag. And this is how he manages. Now, this is a case of a complicated cataract, a long-standing uveitis, and the lens has dislocated into the anterior chamber. It's a PMMA lens. So on close examination, you realize that there's a lot of fibrosis around the lens, there's a cyclitic membrane that has developed, which has encroached, anteriorly, and it's adherent to the cornea. But on closer examination, we realize that there's still a dead space between that membrane and the corneal endothelium. So the plan here is to go and try and open the bag. Once you open the bag anteriorly and posteriorly and separate the optic from it, then it's possible to get the lens out, and the tunnel that is opened is big enough for the optics to come out easily. On the first look, before the surgery, it would look like it's a bad cornea, and keratoplasty is the only way out. But once the lens comes out, and then you go with here, the only difficulty you will have is if the haptic is stuck into the sulcus and you try to pull it out, and sometimes it can tear through and cause problems. So you have to rotate the lens in the eye, and once you're sure that the haptics are separated, then you can pull it. Now here what I do is I go between the endothelium and that membrane, inject viscoelastic, and then use microforceps to very gently peel it, because I know the central endothelium is clear of it. It's stuck in the periphery. And when you can't do it, you can always use a cutter and clear. And to our surprise, the central cornea, where it really matters, is quite clear. Now, unlike what Amar shows, I took this patient as for a second procedure where I planned the lens and managed to get a reasonably good vision. Her vision was finger counting 1 meter, and from there it almost improved to around 624. Now, this is a case which shows you if you have not approached any case with respect to some of the rules, you can end up with an issue. Now, again, this is not done by me, but I wanted to pick up this case to show how a simple thing like a BX ring, if you're not sure how to use it, you can land up with a problem. Now, this is a case of extreme form of IFIs, and the nucleus is extremely advanced. So doing phaco was an issue here. But what was worse was after the nucleus was managed, when the time came to implanting the lens, one has to be a little careful. In such a crowded eye, you definitely fill the bag, open it up, and stay away from the BX ring. What happens here, the surgeon is finding difficulty in pushing the lens into the bag. And once you lose your cool and you're in a hurry to push it, you just watch carefully now. What happens is he's not able to, so by mistake, he pulls the haptic, BX ring. So now the BX ring has also gone behind the iris, and it is, you don't know whether it is front of the haptic or behind the optic, but it is stuck there. Now it's difficult to get that ring out unless you cut it. So by now the pupil has started coming down. The ring is entangled into the haptic optic junction. So the next best thing that he can do is use scissors and cut it. It'll have to be cut at 2 places to remove it. And since the pupil has started coming down, once the second piece is out, and by this time, it's extremely difficult to get the lens into the bag. So once the second part is out, additional iris hooks are put, the pupil is opened up. But at this stage, it is difficult to refill the bag. Surgeon tries his best to get the haptic in, but as you can see, they are only in the sulcus. It just highlights that a case that could have ended well. Here it ends with the lens in, with the haptics are out. I mean, the haptics are in the sulcus, and then the eye is closed. But it's like taking a risk, because if the single piece lens stays in the sulcus, sometimes it can really cause an issue. These are simple cases, not very. Now, this was a pediatrician who had this corneal dystrophy, for which PTK was done. It cleared up for some time and only to recur again. And his vision had dropped drastically. I offered him to repeat the PTK, but he was very sure that he didn't want to go for PTK. Now, these are cases where a simple, oblique light can help you do your rhexis, or sometimes it can help you do your phaco as well. It's just that either your assistant or yourself have to hold it, or in the most appropriate angle for you to get a view of your rhexis. And in such cases, it is essential that you stain your rhexis. The nucleus is rotated, and when the assistant is holding it, in between you could always switch back and forth to see if at that particular stage, whether your coaxial is giving you better visibility or your oblique light. So as a combination of these two, you complete your nucleus management. But then when it comes to IA, it is always better to go back to your coaxial, because IA is sometimes difficult with a light which has no glow. Well, these are not the kind of cases that we saw Amar and Akia show, but these are some kind of doable cases. Though I thought I would share them for the benefit of some of those, because these are not very difficult, but these are few tricky situations where with little more if you have seen cases done, or if you are in the practice of using, you can certainly use this technique and get satisfactory results. So with this, I would like to stop here and stop sharing the screen, and thank Amar for this opportunity to show whatever little I had to show in disasters. Thank you.